This is SPDTDL YouTube channel, and I was thinking recently, what is the best video on my channel? Well, personally, I think it's my sort of trailer, real beginning video. I like that, but it doesn't get an awful lot of views. So what's my best performing video on YouTube? Let's have a look. The most popular video, strangely enough, is this that I did a year ago. It's a camera smackdown between the A6300, the 6000, the A7II and the A7. But I mean, that's had almost 20,000 views, and these cameras aren't really that relevant anymore. So I think it's time to give it a bit of a reboot, really. So let's do another camera smackdown, but this time let's go between the A7, the A7II, the A6500, the A7S II and the A7RII. But why weren't they included in this? Well, at the time they were the absolute top end, most advanced cameras that Sony had, and the price of the R2 and the S2 were simply not in the same region as any of the others. But with the recent announcement of the A9, they have kind of fallen into line, so it's time. Let's have a smackdown. It all begins with the A7. Normally there's a specific reason why you might think that you want an A7. Right now that reason's probably cost, because this is a full frame camera for less than $1,000. But don't get too excited though, because unless you plan on adapting manual lenses, it's great for that. You can use adapters and almost turn it into a budget medium format camera. It's great for that. But for everything else, really, if you're needing to watch this video, then forget it. It's a very old sensor now. It doesn't have image stabilization, and although it's cheap, you really can do better. So the A7, I'm sorry, but it's time to move on. The A7 II. This uses the same sensor as the A7, which really is getting a bit old stock now. However, what we do have here is image stabilization. If you plan on adapting some vintage lenses, it can stabilize any of them, which is ideal for that retro kind of feel. Again, it's a good price point and it's a full frame camera, but it's horrible. Many are going to jump in the comments about this, but for me, I wouldn't bother. It's just had its day. It's had its time. And if you're asking the question between this and the A6500, okay, the A6500 isn't full frame, but everything else is better. And these days, with speed boosters, Sigma 1.8 zooms, get the A6500, guys. Honestly, I'm sorry to say that the A7 II, you've had your moment. The A6500 is a fantastic camera for a fantastic price. It has everything that the more modern full frame expensive cameras have, except that sensor, so you're missing out on full frame. But at the same time, you're getting beautiful 6K downsampled to 4K HD 4K beauty recording, which is just golden. And you're getting lovely autofocus as well, which just blows the A7 II out of the water. So right now, for that budget, the A6500 is staying well and truly on the table. Do you film in low light situations? I mean, do you really film in low light situations on a day-to-day basis? I'm not talking the occasional time. If we go for the A7S II, you need to be using it for those low light situations because it's contrast based autofocus, and as Casey Neistat found out, it isn't exceptionally good. However, if you're in low light, it simply blows everything out of the water. So it can stay on the table, but this is specialist here. You have to know that you're using it for those low light situations, but it can stay. Which brings us on to the A7RII. Now, before, this wasn't even a consideration because of the price, but as time has ticked on, the A9 has come out, which I'm not including in this video because it is simply well beyond the price of all these cameras. The A7R II has dropped considerably in price, and it can now be featured in this video. Beautiful, beautiful photos and beautiful video. It has both. The autofocus is better than the A7S II, however not as good as the A6500, but it's full frame. You can see where I'm going here, can't you? Out of all of these ones that we've just featured, this still ticks all the boxes. The resolution is addictive and you will struggle going back to anything less after you've used this. You have the stabilization. You have 4K video both in full frame and in Super 35, so you can use that crop to your advantage. There really isn't anything that is versatile as the A7R II. It's more expensive than the 6500, but it's so much cheaper than it was on release. So just wait that little bit longer, put a few more pennies away, because guys, the A7R II is the best bang for your buck in the Sony world right now. As usual, it's been emotional.